fact, another representative from California, Congresswoman Karen Bass, has started a petition using the hashtag #DiagnoseTrump to have Donald Trump undergo a mental health evaluation. Bass, who was a physician's assistant and a clinical instructor before she entered politics, writes in the Change.org petition that Donald Trump is dangerous for our country. His impulsiveness and lack of control over his own emotions are of concern. It is our patriotic duty to raise the question of his mental stability to be the commander-in-chief and leader of the free world. And based on what we've seen this week, isn't it pretty clear that Congresswoman Bass has a legitimate concern? Let's rumble. Tonight's Big Picture Rumble are Alex Pfeiffer, reporter for the Daily Caller, Alex Lawson, Executive Director of Social Security Works, and Horace Cooper, attorney and senior fellow for the National Center for Public Policy Research. And gentlemen, thank you for joining me tonight. Let's get to it. Based on what we've seen this week, isn't it pretty clear that Congresswoman Bass is onto something and that we have all a legitimate concern here? Should Mr. Trump reach the highest office in the land?
I'd be a lot more impressed with her diagnosis if she actually had completed the educational attainment necessary to make such a diagnosis. This kind of attack, as snarky as it is, comes across as just the kind of thing that an uneducated and unfamiliar person with psychoanalysis might give.
Well, as somebody who was once licensed or rostered as a psychotherapist by the state of Vermont, I have read much of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of the American Psychiatric Association. I would recommend that you look up in the DSM-5, under the cluster B's personality disorders, narcissistic personality disorder. There are 9 criteria.
See Hillary Clinton's picture.
9 criteria, and Trump hits every single one of them. No, I can give you a critique of Hillary Clinton, but it's not narcissistic personality disorder.
I think what I'll say is that a man who picks a fight with a baby, and then he actually relitigated that fight today. He picked a fight with the same baby again today. Is erratic enough that the American people are going to keep him out of the Oval Office. I don't know what it says about his mental state other than he's unfit to serve as the President of the United States of America.
Yeah.
I mean, inherently, aren't most politicians narcissists? I mean, they seek the approval of people they'll never meet. I think if we would start petitioning to diagnose Donald Trump for lying and wanting people to like him, I think a lot of other politicians fall into that category. There's a very clear
difference between, grandiosity or attention-seeking behavior or extroversion, the kind of things that you see typically in politicians, and narcissistic personality disorder.
What brings Trump differently than most politicians?
You'd have to go through the list of the 9 items, and I don't have them right here.
The ability to turn in a phrase and pretend that you're an old Southern plantation owner. The ability to lie on command.
What it comes down to is a lack of control over your own regulation, over your own emotions. So the big concern is dysregulation, the inability to control. The inability to control your own emotions. It concerns me, frankly. I think that this is a big deal. You're not concerned at all, Horace? Are you seriously?
I look at Hillary and I go, how many of these elements would this person be? She has lied, she has transformed, she pretended to be for this, all kinds of things, and she could pass a lie detector test. If that's not a little bit psychotic, I don't know what is.
Well, regardless of your opinion of Hillary, are you not concerned about Trump?
As I just said, if you gave me a diagnosis, not from Ms. Bass, but from a trained professional, I might be more interested in hearing about it. But as far as just sitting here on the couch and making
there's no shortage of trained professionals who
I would
agree
tell
with that
you,
analysis.
Ms. Clinton has many of the exemplars that would make one think that she is not a neurotic, but a person who is a psychopathic personality.
Sociopathy, psychopathy, seriously?
Yes, absolutely.
Somebody who
25
decides
years
to
of
out of college
her.
goes to work for the Children's Defense Fund to help kids in trouble. That's a psychopath, a
her
sociopath.
Willingness to represent a rapist,
who has no.
Her willingness to represent a rapist and brag about about having...
You're a lawyer. Are you telling me that every lawyer who's ever been a public defender and represented a rapist should be indicted?
Yeah, you know what I would be doing? I'd have a drink with someone talking about how this was my job, but I'm not proud of what I did. But she's on tape bragging about it. If that's not psychopathy, I don't know what it is.
She was a good defense lawyer?
Like, I don't want to stigmatize mental health issues here. That's what I think it's wrong to do that. But I will say that there is an obsessive quality to the right-wing fascination with Hillary Clinton. For 40 years, they have painted this incredibly BS picture of who she is, what she's done, and Horace is just sitting here regurgitating a litany of things. I mean, the lists of who she supposedly has killed, right? I mean, like, this is so far removed from reality. And then the same party who has done this for decades is like, where did Donald Trump come from? I can't explain where this guy came from. He came out of the blue. No, he didn't. He's created by the same false reality that we're hearing right here today.
Killing people? How about cheating with the DNC to scheme to get the nomination?
Earlier today, Chicago authorities released disturbing video showing the moments before and after Chicago police officers shot an 18-year-old car theft suspect named Paul O'Neill in the back. The video was released just one day after New York introduced its so-called Blue Lives Matter bill, which would classify police officers as a protected class and make it a hate crime to assault a police officer. Republican New York Assemblyman Ron Castorina introduced the bill, supported by Councilmember Joseph Borelli and New York Police Department Sergeant Joe Imperatis, the president and founder of Blue Lives Matter New York City. The fact is, protected classes are right now based on race, sexual orientation, national origin, and religious affiliation, all things we generally don't choose but are generally born with, but not having made a choice like choosing a profession of being a cop, for example. These legislators honestly believe that choosing to become a police officer is the same thing as being born black or gay or into a religious minority? I don't get it.
Yeah, it seems to me a political move, you know, backlash towards the whole Black Lives Matter movement that these congressmen are doing. Because I would think in other contexts they'd probably be against hate crime legislation in general. Their justification of it is, you know, that these, you know, Black Lives Matter, there's been protests like in Minnesota calling for dead pigs. So I don't know if strawman argument would be the correct phrase here, but they create a somewhat of, you know, argument that, oh, you know, people are throwing rocks at them because they're police officers. But like I said, they choose to be police officers. I see this more as a political backlash.
Alex?
I agree with that. I think that it is a political, it's actually a strategic communications thing to try to pull the limelight off of what we should be focused on, which is that across partisan divide, there is an agreement that we need to look at criminal justice reform, that you can't maintain law and order at the same time as extracting wealth from a community, which is what we ask the police to do right now through ticketing and other harassment
sort of
policies.
A separate issue, but it's spot on.
Yeah, as I heard your description, you said these are attributes that are generally things that people are born with. The hate crime category has expanded dramatically. Veteran status isn't something that you're born with. If you get into a car accident and lose a leg, that's not something you're born with. There are a number of these categories of protection.
But people don't choose disabilities. And people don't choose to be wounded in war.
No. Veteran status has nothing to do with whether you had an injury or not. Every state in the country and federal law require you to give an accommodation to something that someone has chosen to do.
But an accommodation
They're
is
first responders.
different than being a protected class with regard to hate crime.
So you would be opposed to a hate crime statute that said it would be wrong to assault a veteran?
Yes, I do.
Well, see, I'm opposed to all hate crime laws generally.
Okay, more of tonight's Big Picture Rumble after the break.